And thanks for having me here. It's exciting. Like, food is in general thing, not only for me, it should be for everyone in this world, like such an important issue. So it's not only one of the things that makes us very happy every day, makes us like, well, gives us all our energy to keep going, do everything we want, everything we need. And at the same time, it brings us together, like socially. There are just so many things around food. And one of the, as you mentioned, one of the most important things, at least nowadays, around food is its impact in the environment and on climate change. So I'm really passionate about this part of the food journey. And that's where Mindful Eatups started. And yeah, one of the most important things that we luckily are learning and hearing more and more each day, and that's what we are learning more about it, is all the impacts around every single thing that we purchase and we put into our mouths, basically. So the food world is just extremely complex. The more I read about it, study and check articles on the latest science, I think the more I realize I don't know. We, of course, as humans want to simplify everything, and our brains work that way, that we just want to generalize things, and that's just easier for us and for the choices we make. And yeah, one of the things that are like very obvious nowadays. The more we see the news and science around food, climate change, etc., it's just how complicated it is. Many of us might think that, okay, I'll just probably change to a vegan diet, and then that's it. I'm doing the correct thing. It's going to be good for me, good for the world, and that's it. I do my part. But the fact is that the whole food chain, the whole food system is just too complicated to be that black and white. And I'm not saying that solution of becoming vegan is not the right one. I think like that's a very important thing if some people want to, and for the more people that choose such a radical change in diet, I think it might be even better for what we know already. But what I have learned is that first, is not the only solution, and second, is not realistic for everyone and for every country even. So yeah, I'm just passionate about all that food means to us, and the impact on everything, on the environment, health, and on the people. So that's how I started Mindful Eatups, which is a verification process, an organization that looks at food businesses, small at the moment, restaurants and cafes that are already doing something to become more sustainable. And I'm basing sustainability in the SDGs because it's like in this complex world, it's not like you can fix one problem and that's it. Like there are reactions to everything and consequences. So sometimes you fix one problem and unknowingly you might have actually create another one. So that's why I'm a big fan of the SDGs, because from the way I see them, they are actually encompassing so many things that are requiring change, and that they are connecting. They are connected together, and they're connecting other things that are needed for the world to just be better. And in that sense, I'm taking sustainability along with food in everything that relates to, well, environment, of course. How can we be aware of the choices we make in our food diets, in what we consume, and where everything comes from, but also on sustainability from the society point of view, and how we are helping communities thrive, how we are helping even local farmers improve the way they farm, to things like health very obviously related to food. I mean, one thing that is probably very obvious to you, but I was just going through some of the data from the cafes here, and it's about 90 or more than 90% of the restaurants and cafes, at least here in Sydney, have a big amount of their options on their menu are gluten-free, where celiac people, at least here in Sydney, is less than 0.5%. The population, whereas heart diseases and diabetes, especially, let's put diabetes apart, actually, only heart diseases are causing more than 26% of death. Celiac is not even in the range. So yeah, heart disease is very, very big part of it. There are extra or people eating too much salt or sodium and too much saturated fat is related to more than 1.7, I think, percent of, but don't quote me on this one, check it out. But I just went through some of papers recently, and it was something like close to 2% of hospitalizations based on that. So, and that is from compared to more than 90% that restaurants or cafes are actually tackling in their menu for celiac people. Well, there's actually less than 0.5% that menus are actually tackling for a better heart-friendly diet. So that is shocking. It's like showing you how easy our brains just go to what's trendy and what is easy for us to just like decide, okay, I'll choose to do that, I'll choose to do this. But actually, if you look a little bit deeper, we are still far away from doing as good as we should. And yeah, so I think I would love to mostly have a conversation and discuss because this is it can be such an intense topic as well, because food is so strongly related to culture, to how we were brought up, to everything we do every day and how we live our lives. So it can be actually also very, very intense and very passionate. But it's also so important to have the conversation and to be open and to understand also that there are different solutions for different people. And as long as everyone is aware of what is the impact, I think we should respect also people making the right choices on their own.
Yeah, thank you so much for the intensity and the passion about this topic that you bring tonight. Actually, I on your last part, actually, when you were talking about actually how it relates to our culture, I think probably that's where I have one question for you. It would be actually how. Because you say, I think I read somewhere in your bio that you're from
Mexico.
Yes, so yeah. Food is very important in terms of social life and family life. And I'm French, so same for me. It's very different, but
cheap and wine.
Yeah, and so in the end, so food is also part of the social link that we have with each other, and it's a very big part of the culture. And so how do we keep this social link while bringing this huge topic of climate change into our plates? How difficult, how do you find, how easy do you find navigating this? Because obviously when you start saying, it's not just let's have fun, it's, let's just take care of the planet and our health right from our plate. And that can start a very awkward discussion. So how do you navigate that? Do you have any tips for people?
It's a great question, and I wish I had the answer. It's usually very tough, and there are people who are very bad at dialogue and communicating the right message. I'm unfortunately not that person. I try, but I think the way I try to tackle it is through, as usual, asking questions. So getting people more to be curious and to make them realize on their own what they know and what they don't know, and helping them become even more curious. So knowing some facts is always useful. So, like, for example, as I just brought in the difference with celiac against heart disease and against peanuts, because actually peanuts is very dangerous allergy, and a lot of people die every year for peanuts allergy, and that's also like, it's considered in many places, but it's not that much, right? So yeah, kind of putting the data into the table when you're having those conversations is helpful, but it also depends who you are talking to. My family, of course, it's some people from my family eat a lot of meat, and it's just, I don't see a way where I think they respect my way of thinking, and they most likely believe that I'm right in many ways. But even so, like, it's just like so attached to their way of living that I don't think how I can change that, even if it's related to health, environment, or whatever I want to put it. So yeah, sometimes it's just tough. Even if the only thing I do is usually just set things on the table. Well, this is what we know. This is how things are. Like, you don't need to make changes if you don't want to, but this is how things work these days. And this is where we could be, this is where we might be if nothing changes in the future, in a couple of years even. So it's up to every person to decide what they do about this. For some people, one kind of change could be really easy and another can be really hard, but it's fine if the easy one is happening anyways, right? So if someone wants to go plastic free, that's awesome already, right? If someone wants to eat less meat, that's probably also really great. And maybe the same person cannot or doesn't even want to or are not ready to do both. That's fine. At least if they are doing one thing, I think it's already an improvement for us. Of course, we are at the stage that we know we should be doing a lot more, every one of us, and more at a government level. But there's just so much that individuals can do with the amount of knowledge and with the education that we get. So there's a lot more that we need to ask for government to put their efforts there, to bring more initiatives and put more money in the places where, especially education, where people need to actually know what to do and have it easy, right? Like currently, selected in most countries, at least, especially even Western countries where most people can access enough food for their families, or even a lot more. Even in these countries where we live in, just purchasing organic against industrial vegetables is just not part of most of the people's possibilities, or even if it's just about education, even if a lot of people could do it, it's just like putting in the balance, because those farmers are not getting enough support from governments or from whatever we needed to actually be at the same competition level as other industries. So we need to ask more for also not only individuals, but I think at all levels.